With Battlefield 5 deemed a massive failure, and its success being overshadowed by the constant missteps and controversy, we can only look forward to the future titles and hope that whoever will be responsible for bringing us the next Battlefield title would have learned from their own mistakes. In this video, I'll be talking about some of the ideas and thoughts I would like to see in the next Battlefield title. Some of these ideas can be used as a starting point for a brainstorm, and I'd love to hear what you'd like to see in the next Battlefield game, so if you agree or have contradictory opinions, please leave them down in the comments, as this is an open discussion for anyone to join in. And now, I hope that you'll enjoy this video. Firestorm was a huge and utter failure. It was considered already dead after just a few months of its initial release, and I've personally never even played the mode, because I'm not a huge fan of Battle Royale games, but from the perspective of someone who actually owned Battlefield 5, the way the mode was implemented made no sense in today's day and age. If we look at Call of Duty Warzone, just because the franchise is somewhat of the closest competitor to Battlefield, you'll notice that the Battle Royale mode was made free and independent from Modern Warfare base game. Well, technically you'll still have to download both to play Warzone, but that's a totally different story. In my opinion, if the developers want a successful Battle Royale game mode, alongside the next Battlefield game, the franchise should release an independent and live service Battle Royale mode. Of course, I'm not suggesting that developers should make it free out of the goodness of their heart, but rather basing my suggestion on all the other free-to-play games like Apex, Fortnite, CSGO, or even World of Tanks, which all put food on the table with microtransactions. The reason for it is Firestorm being locked away behind the requirement to own the base game simply failed. And in order to improve for the future, new measures should be taken by the company to make the game more accessible to the people like Warzone, which seems to have a ton of actual success over Firestorm. From what I gather, the live service we received from DICE was horribly slow and painfully self-harming. However, with a free-to-play Battle Royale mode, such a service could work well, in the sense of addition of new cosmetics and a regular schedule, while the base game could return to its initial paid DLC structure. Having made a few videos regarding Battlefield, I always find myself talking about the competitive aspect of gaming, but in reality, Battlefield feels like a casual game with no competitive or ranked matches. From what I've read online, the game developers actually wanted to design and implement some sort of a 5v5 mode, which never came to reality. It makes me sad, but considering how many things Battlefield 5 has missed and didn't bring to the audience, it's no surprise. So going into the future, what I want to see is a developed and more tactical mode, which is focused on team play, and this could even potentially be a way for Battlefield to finally start developing some sort of an esports presence. In a way, this could help to segregate the players considered tryhards from casuals. If the modes are challenging and rewarding enough, it could attract a high level of competition, similarly to games like Rainbow Six Siege. And with that remark, I'd like to mention the never-ending plea for an improved anti-cheat system, which DICE has announced that their team will continue to develop such a system, but so far it feels fairly unsuccessful, and many cheaters in Battlefield were able to spend hundreds of hours playing the game with no punishment, and this ruins the gaming experience for many people. While I understand it may be difficult to find cheaters instantly, options like vote to kick could be a temporary solution to the problem at hand. Although this raises the conversation of who is really cheating, as people with a higher level of skill may be considered cheaters and get punished for a crime they didn't commit, or people being toxic and abusing the feature, which could be the reason halting the implementation of such an option. While another feature that we desperately need is a team balancer. Now, with people quitting at the start of a match because they didn't like the map or the team lost the previous round and now they're rage quitting, the problem of team imbalance has plagued Battlefield 5 ever since I can remember, and it's a feature I think the next Battlefield could really use. I want the next Battlefield game to be a modern themed title. I'm not a huge fan of overly futuristic games. However, seeing as Battlefield has gone from World War I to World War II, it would make sense to visit the Cold War next. Although the Cold War was more of a dick-measuring content and not a physical and direct confrontation of the United States and Soviet Union, the war stretched for over 45 years, and there were many conflicts around the globe which could be used in the next game. For example, the war in Vietnam or Korea, and even Middle Eastern conflicts like the Suez Crisis, or the Cuban Revolution and the guerrilla warfare led by Fidel Castro. There is enough inspiration for great content that could stretch for over 2 years, which in my opinion would be one of the best choices for a Battlefield game. Plus, there are some iconic battles like the Battle of Delarang, Fall of the Saigon, or the Bay of the Pigs invasion, which are all great examples of the proxy conflicts between the United States and the Soviet Union, with many options for the base game content and further expansions. However, with the more recent Battlefield titles, we've seen a decrease in the map design, including verticality. One of the biggest things I remember from Battlefield 4 were huge maps with access to tall building structures. However, Battlefield 1 and 5 were lacking such qualities. With my limited knowledge of the architectural structure in the possible Cold War conflict areas I've mentioned so far, it could lead to yet another Battlefield game with limited verticality potential, as I imagine the Vietnam maps to be similar to the War in the Pacific map designs of Battlefield 5, featuring a single plane, jungle-style environment, and we can speculate the Middle Eastern map designs to be fairly similar to what we've seen in Battlefield 1 and the Ottoman Empire War. Lastly, I think the community should have more control over what we want to play. And personally, I didn't like the fact that modes like Rush or Fortress were so scarce and only available for a limited time every couple of months. And now that the developers have announced ceasing support for the game, the community has finally received a bigger accessibility to customize community game playlists. Furthermore, with Battlefield's release, we've seen the lack of private servers and access to customizing community lobbies. And when they finally arrived, they were plagued with bugs and glitches or simply didn't work at all. In my opinion, in the next Battlefield, these features should be available from the start, or at least a short period after the release. It could help for people to revisit the game with already existing communities, which were already affected by the lack of these services in Battlefield 5. If DICE decides to stick with the live service system, it should give a priority to regular content updates in the shape of maps and weapons on a tight schedule taking no longer than 2 months per content update. The constant failure to meet the scheduled content updates in Battlefield 5 has definitely contributed to the community's increasing lack of trust in the company, making promises that they couldn't keep. Therefore, in the next game, if DICE wants to regain the trust of its audience, the only way to do so is with a strong start, which isn't shortly after backstabbed with a controversial change, such as an unwanted TTK change, or the lack of support to fixing bugs and glitches regularly, or the constant ignoring and allowing of cheating accounts to exist. Anyhow, I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, leave a like down below and comment telling me what you think about these ideas for the next Battlefield title and what sort of suggestions you yourself have for what you'd want to see in the next game. And if you want to see more gaming content, subscribe to my channel, as I'm regularly uploading weekly videos and quality content for you, so don't miss out. And now, as always, I wish you all a good day or night, wherever you may be, and stay safe. Till next time.